Good afternoon from the garden and welcome back to my channel. It's January the 10th, 11th, and as you can see it's a rather gloomy and rainy day here in the Netherlands, but it does not stop me from getting excited for the new growing season. However, before I start making plans and drawing plans for my vegetable garden, I thought I would do a recap of my 18 goals for 2018. Back in January, I set myself 18 goals for the past growing season. We have filmed a video about it and I will link to that below. But in this video, I wanted to do a little recap and have a look at what we have accomplished and what we haven't. My goal number 1 was to do a lettuce trial, and we did that. We grew 8 different varieties of lettuce in one bed next to each other. Some were really pretty, strikingly colored ones like Hyper Red Crumble. But we found out that our favorite taste-wise was the quite ordinary looking Claridon. Unfortunately, it also turned out to be the favorite of the rabbits that somehow found a hole in the wire mesh that we have around the garden. And they were eating it over the other varieties. So it also seems that rabbits really prefer the usual green varieties over anything that's red or like Mottiston, which is green red. So yeah, that was we did find out something in the trial. It was not quite what we had hoped though. My goal number 2 was to do a butternut squash trial to hopefully find a variety that would be great for our climate, because we really love butternut squash. I grew 3 varieties that were called Anna, Hunter and Harrier, and out of these 3, Anna performed the best. If you want to know more about our harvest, then I will link to our winter squash harvest video below. I will continue my search for a great butternut squash. I got a new variety from a fellow gardener to try out, which is called Sonka. So I'll be growing that one this year, and maybe some others. Goal number 3 was to find a good cherry tomato variety for growing in the greenhouse. We grew 5 or 6 different varieties and we filmed a video about it, which I will also link to below. Our favorite taste-wise was black cherry, which is a long-standing favorite of ours. However, if we look at taste combined with productivity, the winner would have to be sun gold, which is also many other people's favorite. I find it a little too sweet for my taste. However, when I filmed that video, when I posted that video, I also got suggestions for other tomato varieties to try, so I will be doing a new trial this year with growing the 2 favorites from 2018 plus some new varieties. If you have other recommendations for me, please leave them below. My goal number 4 was to plant a row of summer fruiting raspberries, which we did. This is a variety called Sunnybell. We have already a row of fall fruiting raspberries which are producing really well, but I wanted to have a longer season, so that's the reason why we planted those as well. We still have to put up a support, but yeah, well, at least half of the job is done. Goal number 5 was to finish planting edible climbers next to our pergola and film a video about it. We have finished the planting, and as you can see, some of the plants are already climbing all the way up. These are some of the hybrid berries that we planted here. We have not filmed a video about the pergola yet, but I think it will be much more interesting to film it when some of these plants at least are already producing. So we will do that later this year. Goal number 6 was to graft an apple variety, a very delicious apple from our friend's garden. I called them and I inquired about whether that would be possible. Unfortunately, they told me that the tree died, so I'm rather sad about it, and I'm sorry I have not tried doing that earlier. I have some other varieties that I would like to add to my garden, but this one, since it was not, they didn't know what variety it was. They brought it once to an apple expert for determination, but nobody knew what variety it was, so maybe it was a chance seedling, and that means it's lost forever, so that's sad. Goal number 7 was to try a midsummer polyculture of annual vegetables. So that means a polyculture that could be sown later than the other polyculture that I have series videos about on the channel that is sown in April. I'm standing next to the bed where we sowed the polyculture. There are still some of the plants here. There are different varieties of kale. There's some radicchio and chervil. We filmed, I think, 2 videos, one about sowing the polyculture and an update. So I will link to those below. It was quite a success, but it could still use some tweaking. So I think I will probably try it again and adjust the amounts of different varieties. Goal number 8 was to do a mustard greens trial. And we did that in this bed over here in spring. So now we have different plants growing here, obviously. We grew 12 different varieties of mustard greens, and we filmed a video where we talked about their taste and their tendency to bolting. So I think that's really interesting information, and if you fancy growing mustard greens, check out the video. I will link to it below. Goal number 9 was to do try an earlier sowing of spinach, pre-sowing spinach, for a better spring harvest. That was inspired by Charles Dowding and his video on growing spinach. We did that. I did 3 different sowings, one inside in January, which was transplanted outside in March. Then I did sowing in February in the greenhouse, and then in March outside. And it did turn out indeed that it pays to do the sowing inside, to pre-sow the plant inside. So thank you, Charles. My goal number 10 was to devote one of our raised beds to growing annual cut flowers. And I did that. I ordered some seeds mainly from the Floret company, who have a beautiful assortment of cut flowers. I pre-sowed everything carefully and planted it in this bed, mulched with compost. We had different varieties. We had sweet peas, we had cornflowers for cutting, pincushion flowers, which are still there. It's the only flower that is here. Look at that, they're even still flowering. It's actually a perennial plant, and they need to be sown early for flowering the same season. But to be honest, we did not really pick many bouquets from this bed, and the main reason was that we had such an extremely drought and warm summer that the plants were they were going to seed too fast for us to keep up with, and also the rest of the garden required more upkeep than usual. So when there's a shortage of time, then the resources go always towards food, not cut flowers. So I'm really I'm sorry about how this went. I think I will try to grow some cut flowers, some more cut flowers this year. The very nice thing is that actually some of them self-sowed in this bed, so I'm now taking out some are hardy, so they could survive the winter, and I already replanted some of the seedlings into another bed, and that could give us a very early harvest of cut flowers this year. My goal number 11, I don't have enough fingers for that, was to grow dahlias for their edible tubers. Maybe you know that the flowers, the petals of dahlias are edible, but so are their tubers, and I have eaten the petals before, but not the tubers. So I ordered the variety called Fantasy from Lubera, who have a series selection of what they call deli dahlias, which should be especially tasty. When I posted this intention on Instagram, there were several people saying that they have tried eating dahlias and were rather underwhelmed. So I was not expecting much, but to my surprise, we liked it. We really liked it. It was very nice, crunchy. It was supposed to have a smoky flavor. We did not really detect that, but we did like it. So I think I will try growing some other varieties this year. My goal number 12 was to mulch the edible hedge that we have on the two sides of our property as a windbreak and for other reasons too. It's a mixed planting of edible bushes bearing edible fruits. So we have, for example, Saskatoon, Juneberry here. We have hazels, we have wild rose here, and cherry plum, other stuff as well. And in some places they're doing really well, like here. In other places not so much, which is sometimes caused by difference in the soil conditions or compaction of the soil, but sometimes it's also because there is more competition from weeds. So against that, the mulching would really help. Unfortunately, we did not have enough time for that, and we only mulched small bits of the hedge. So that's a job for this year. My goal number 13 was to grow what we eat. And as I mentioned in the January video, sometimes I get carried away and I experiment with stuff that then my family is not very excited about. So I was trying to concentrate more on what I already know that we like. I think I did pretty good on that. What do you think? Yeah? Okay. So that's, yeah, I think that was, that one is a... Number 14, keep better records. I have a notebook wherein I put when I sow stuff, the harvest, and notes about weather. And I'm very good at it until our summer vacation, and then in the fall it goes a little downhill. So I was hoping to do better in 2018. I think I did a little better, but there's still room for improvement. Goal number 15 was to plant a Bodinier's beautyberry. Calicarpa Bodinieri, which I did. I said in my January video that I wanted to plant it because of its beautiful berries. I don't know whether you can see them. But somebody commented that they're actually edible, which is nice, but I tried some this year and they were quite bitter, so I don't know whether there's difference in different varieties maybe. But I would not plant them to eat the berries, but they are really beautiful. And they're also, like when this bush grows, then they're also nice for adding to fall bouquets. It's getting colder and rainier, so we moved into the greenhouse where it's cozy to finish the video. Okay, my goal number 16 was to plant a pomegranate. Pomegranates are not something that is normally grown in our climate. I don't know anybody who has a pomegranate, or I didn't know anybody who has a pomegranate. But I found out some varieties online that are supposed to be hardy enough for our climate. So I ordered one. It's called Favorite, and it's supposed to be bred in Russia, so bred for colder climates. I have the plant in pot still. I am planning to plant it in our backyard against a sunny southwest facing wall, because I think that the sheltered microclimate should help. But I will probably overwinter it in the pot, because then I can protect it in case it gets very cold, and then plant it in the spring. And in the meantime, I heard from Laurence Machiels, who is a Belgian garden writer, and she has a pomegranate in a large container which she overwinters in her greenhouse, and it's bearing fruits, so that gives me hope. My goal number 17 was to take a course in pruning restricted fruit varieties like cordons and espaliers, and the ornamental ones that can be grown against a wall, for example, with Jan Frerichs, who's an expert on this. He's 89 years old, and this was one of the last courses that he was teaching. He will be stopping after this year. So I'm really glad I did take the course. However, I don't feel like I have become an expert. I think I mostly learned that it's even more complicated than I thought. My last goal, number 18, was to organize an open day, because I get quite often I get requests from people that they could visit our garden, and it's not always convenient. So I thought we could organize one open day. And we did that on the 24th of June, I think, when the garden was absolutely at its most beautiful. We did it together with our neighbors who are also have a permaculture garden. So that was a great opportunity for people to visit 2 permaculture gardens on the same day. It was great. We had a lot of visitors and very nice people who read my Dutch book. So that was really nice to hear from them and how they're using it in their gardens. So yeah, I'm really glad we did that, and I think we will do it again this year. So that was a recap of the 18 goals for 2018. I think we did really well. There are only a few things that I have not done, and some of them I could not have, like the grafting the tree, because it's not existent anymore, unfortunately. Yeah, so I'm happy with the result. And I'll be setting new goals for 2019, perhaps not 19 of them. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments whether you are setting any gardening goals for this year. Happy gardening!